The Queen Maker here giving you greater clarity on humans and their behavior. So this week's topic has been Simone Biles' husband, and everybody tripping about him being the catch. But there's a reason why everything played out the way it played out, and I'm going to give you really quick highlights of what that is. This is his wife, Simone Biles. We see all these Olympic medals that she won. Simone gets him an interview with Pivot Podcast. The hosts are NFL players themselves: Channing Crowder, Ryan Clark, and Fred Taylor. These are critical details because he's in the room with Channing, who played 6 seasons, got 469 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, and 1 interception. Not too shabby. But then you have Ryan Clark, who plays the same position that Simone Biles' husband plays, who was also undrafted. However, there's a critical difference between he and Simone Biles' husband. Ryan Clark played 13 seasons, got 645 solo tackles, 286 assists, 4 sacks, 8 fumble recoveries, and 16 interceptions. Also selected to play in the Pro Bowl and won 1 championship. So Mr. Biles is definitely outmanned by Ryan Clark. He can't stand up on Ryan Clark because he's a beta male in comparison to Ryan Clark, who was undrafted and played the same position he played. Then you got Fred Taylor, who let it be known he was drafted in the 9th, played 13 seasons, 2,534 carries for 11,695 yards, 290 catches, 2,384 yards, and scored 74 touchdowns. So he can't man up on Fred Taylor either. He's a beta male in comparison to him as well. His wife is one of the big dogs too. If you watch my full breakdown on this interview at the High Power Podcast on YouTube, I break down the entire low self-esteem, loser mentality that Mr. Biles has. In the interview, he lets the world know that he's been struggling to be noticed his entire career. He's been struggling to prove himself because he lacks self-confidence and he's highly delusional about his abilities. Because of his delusion and his lack of self-confidence and trying to prove his worthiness to the 3 men who he cannot stand up on because they outrank him, his way of boosting his own ego to feel like he belongs in the room with these guys is to slam dunk on Simone Biles. Now, he can't man up on those dudes because he's 28 years old and he's been playing in the NFL for 6 years, 3 years on the practice squad, most of his career being injured, sitting out, or playing on the practice squad. So what age do NFL players peak? Data shows that players at all positions generally see performance declines by age 30, with players' peak age ranging from 24 for running backs to 28 for most offensive linemen and quarterbacks. The subsequent declines are gradual from year to year, but the result is pronounced for all positions. So he's already at the age where he's on the decline. What is the average age to quit football? NFL careers, the shortest on average. It is no wonder that the average age of retirement is 27.6. By him being 28 and still struggling to be noticed and to improve as a player, it's hit his psyche. So here's a quick rundown of Mr. Owens' career. Signed to the Cardinals as an undrafted free agent in 2018. But he was waived due to an injury at the last week and spent the entire season on injured reserve. In 2019, he was waived by the Cardinals. Then he went to Houston and was signed on the practice squad. He was then promoted to the active roster, but 2 days after that, he was reassigned to the practice squad. And he signed a reserve future contract with the Texans, a reserve future contract. Right after that, he was waived by the Texans and signed to the practice squad the next day. He was lifted to the active roster for 5 and 6 games of October and 10th and the 17th, just to be put right back on the practice squad after that. Then he was elevated to the active roster and then put back on the practice squad after that. On December 9th, he signed a 2-year, $1.175 million deal that ran through 2022. He then got his first interception and his first fumble recovery. Then he was placed on injury reserve after dislocating his wrist. So his entire career, most of it, he's been injured or sitting on the practice squad. He's 28 years old now, approaching the age of decline in the NFL. So he just signed with the Green Bay Packers this year. On the podcast interview, they specifically asked him, everybody see that you on the NFL, but how do you convey to people that you ain't got it like that monetarily, where you ain't got $2 million laying around or $5 million laying around? How you convey that? Well, that's interesting. He say he let his mama do the gatekeeping because he ain't got it like that. So what happened to a player contract when they get injured? In the NFL, only powerful players with lots of leverage generally receive fully guaranteed contracts. He ain't got a lot of leverage. So all that time he was injured, what was he getting paid? For players without a fully guaranteed contract, they still receive some money while on injury reserve, but it's generally only a fraction of their regular salary. Remember, he played most of his time on the practice squad and he was injured most of the time. So those on the practice squad are paid 18 weeks a year for the regular season, like active players. However, unlike the latter, there are no signing bonuses nor guaranteed salaries. So if he wasn't really playing because he was injured and he ain't no powerful player that got a lot of leverage, so he ain't really had no guaranteed salary either, it makes sense why Fred Taylor asked him, how do you convey to people that you ain't got it like that monetarily? As he tries to convey to the world that he the catch, and all three guys try to humble him at every angle, at every opportunity that they got in the interview, Channing Crowder then tells him, you all right as a safety, but you ain't never gonna be as good as Simone Biles is in gymnastics. Basically took a major blow to his ego. At no point in the interview could he give that girl any credit for her superior talent. He just used her to boost himself up as some type of catch, while Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, and Fred Taylor let him know that he was a straight-up beta male. He'll never be as good as she is in gymnastics, because he the beta male who can't slam dunk on them three dudes. Bro out here looking bad, yo. Bro out here looking bad, yo. And Ryan Clark did most of his whole card pulling during the entire interview just to get online the very next day and gaslight everybody as if his ass wasn't slam dunking on him throughout the entire interview. His self-esteem is too low for him to take the pressure that's being put on him. He not gonna be able to handle this for no long period of time, yo. Cause she the man in a relationship and he's not going to be able to mentally handle that. If you want to see this full breakdown, which is one of the best that's out there, check the pinned comment below and go enjoy that. A real psychoanalysis.